of a true prophet. Is that the way that you know whether a prophet's true? And do all prophets perform miracles? Well, first of all, let's answer this. Revelation 16, verse 14, speaking of in the last days, you need to be careful, for they are the spirits of devils working miracles. Can devils work miracles? You know, in the last days, I think a lot of people would be more inclined to follow a prophet that entertained them with miracles and signs and wonders than a prophet who said, you need to turn from your life of sin. And a lot of the criticism that Ellen White gets, you know what it is because of? The foundation for most of the criticism is because of the high standard for godly living that she holds up. People are convicted by it, and they try to shake off the shackles of sanctification, and so they say, oh, that it can't really be that high. Does God really? I mean, can't we sort of be more contemporary with the world? Whenever the church starts trying to be more contemporary with the world and fit in with the world, that's a sign usually right there are problems. Oh, I forgot one more passage. The story in the Bible when Moses went before the Pharaoh. And the Pharaoh, was he able to duplicate a lot of the miracles that came with the plagues? And so the devil knows how to counterfeit signs and wonders. Not all prophets are called to foretell the future. Not every prophet writes a book. Have you ever read the book of John the Baptist? And yet, what does the Lord say about John the Baptist? Well, he was the greatest of the prophets. And so you look at the prophets of God in the Bible, they're not all marching up and down the street foretelling calamity and disaster. Matter of fact, one of the most important works of a prophet is to guide, to instruct, to console, to help give understanding and help people become better acquainted with the Lord. And this was largely the ministry of Ellen White. But she taught on such a broad spectrum of subjects, it's mind-boggling. Number 11. Were some women also called to be prophets in the Bible? Exodus 15, verse 20. We're going to go through some of these very quickly. Of course, we've already talked about Miriam, the prophetess, the sister of Aaron. She's the one who protected Moses as a baby as well. Luke 2, verse 36. Now there was one Anna, a prophetess, the daughter of Penuel of the tribe of Asher. You remember when they went into the temple? And when Joseph and Mary brought baby Jesus, Anna was there. New Testament. She's a prophetess. You got Hannah. You got Huldah. Then you can go to the New Testament also. Acts 21, verse 9. Now this man, Philip, had 4 virgin daughters who prophesied. And so why you don't find any examples in the Bible of women serving in the capacity of apostle or a priest, there are a lot of women in ministry as prophets. Deborah was a prophetess. There's many more than I could share with you right now. Number 12. In what way does God speak to a true prophet? Well, there's a number of examples. Numbers 12, verse 6 and 8. If there be a prophet among you, I, the Lord, will make myself known to him in a vision. Or I will speak to him in a dream. Dreams and visions are a couple of ways right there. If you go to Numbers 12, verse 6 through 8, I might speak with him as I speak, speaking of Moses in particularly, mouth to mouth. Zechariah 4, verse 1. And the angel that talked with me came again. You remember an angel went to Mary as well. So God speaks to his prophets through dreams, through visions. He'll speak through the Holy Spirit. He speaks through angels. Ellen White had the Lord speak to her in just about every way that God can speak to a prophet. She was given dreams. She was given visions. Matter of fact, I've got a statement here. There's a whole lot of witnesses, and you can read a number of these things are available. For instance, J.N. Loughborough, he wrote, he saw her in vision many, many times. She was in vision more than 2,000 times in her life. And many people saw her in vision. They examined her in vision. And, I mean, when you have a practice like this for 70 years, there are plenty of opportunity for people to criticize it. In passing into vision, J.N. Loughborough says, she gives 3 enrapturing shouts of glory, which echo and re-echo. The second, and especially the third, fainter, but more thrilling than the first. The voice resembling that of one quite a distance from you, and going out of hearing. Her voice would become faint, and she'd say, glory, glory, glory. For about 4 or 5 seconds, she seems to drop down like a person who's in a swoon, or one having lost his strength. Then she seems to instantly be filled with superhuman strength, sometimes rising at once to her feet and walking about the room. There are frequent movements of the hands and the arms pointing to the right or the left as her head turns. All these movements are made in a most graceful manner. In whatever position the hand or the arm might be placed, it is impossible for anyone to move it. Many people, seeing her in vision, would try to go stop her arms as they made these graceful gestures, and especially when she was younger, she was a slight woman, they could not stop her hand. It would throw them around the room, and she just showed absolutely no effort at all. Her eyes were always open, but she does not wink. You can read about when Balaam the prophet says, "My eyes being open in vision." But she does not wink, and some of her visions would last hours. Try not to blink for 20 minutes. Try not to blink. As a matter of fact, you can try not to blink now for the next 5 minutes. Let me know how it goes. She does not wink. Her head is raised and she's looking upward, not with a vacant stare, with a pleasant expression, only differing from the normal in that she appears to be looking intently at some distant object. She does not breathe. One of the most common things people seeing her in vision would put a mirror to her mouth, a candle to her face. She would not wink when a candle was put up in front of her eyes. It would not affect the direction of her eyes. She was lost to the world and what was happening in the world. She was caught up, and God was showing her things and bringing her back with messages for the church. Do you believe God still has a church? Does God still speak to His church? Are the gifts of the Spirit still there? There are plenty of false prophets out there, friends, but don't become so cynical and jaded that you reject the true. I've also got a bunch of similar references here. M.G. Kellogg, I believe this was the father of John Harvey Kellogg. She would draw her breath, and when she came out of vision, when it was over, she'd take a deep breath, and she'd always say it was so dark, coming back to the world after the things that she saw. One time while she was in vision, she was holding up a book. I think they put that slide up on the screen. She was in vision. She picked up a Bible, and I've seen a Bible about the same size in Washington at the E.G. White Estate where the vault is. And she would point to the verses, and someone standing there, and she was reading word for word the verses, looking with her finger, and she held for over 20 minutes this Bible that must have weighed 15 pounds. You can't do that. I mean, just supernatural strength. And many, many people saw these things. Oh, another myth I'd like to dispel very quickly. I've heard people talk about, they got these secret writings of Ellen White. There's nothing secret about it. You can go to the Ellen White estate, and I've been in the vault before, and you can look at the writings, and that's just a myth. This woman only graduated the 9th grade. Now, I don't know how you feel about that, but do you know what my last formal year of school was? 9th grade. I did go back and get my GED, and I did go back to college for 6 months. But that was the extent of my formal education, and you're listening to me. So, God calls fishermen, doesn't He? And 9th grade education, and yet God gave her information and dreams on such a vast array of topics, ranging all the way from agriculture, education, health, politics, war. I mean, just so many different things. He gave her this inspired information that was revolutionary. She wrote about education. She must have known what she talked about, because through her leadership and her guidance, right now the Seventh-day Adventist Church has about 6,966 schools. I got this from the church website today, so I trust it's accurate. All around the world. Many times she would find the campuses and say, the Lord said, buy this campus, and it always prospered when she did that. Such as Loma Linda University, which is now a world-renowned. Information on hospitals. And Loma Linda, of course, was a hospital. On health, 167 hospitals and sanitariums around the world. It is the largest Protestant medical work in the world now. 9th grade education. God guided her in that medicine. Some of you maybe have read Neil Nedley's book, Proof Positive. In the appendix of that book, and I've only got a couple of room and time for a couple of quotes, you read Ellen White's words. The appetite for tobacco is self-destructive. It leads to a craving for something stronger. Fermented wines and liquors, of which are intoxicating. Keep in mind, when she wrote that, they thought she was crazy because doctors prescribed smoking for asthma when she wrote that. And now what does medical science tell us? Children who use tobacco are more likely to go